And I guess we have a moment to do some self-reflective stuff with Ken Rosenthal due to a story that hit the rounds, that hit close to home. Kenny, take us back to your first days as a young newspaper man.
All right, Matt. I started at a newspaper called the York Daily Record in York, Pennsylvania. That is south central Pennsylvania, south of Harrisburg, north of Baltimore. Needless to say, I was quite distressed yesterday to learn from the great Jim Romanesco blog that my old newspaper, my first newspaper, has banned cursing in the newsroom.
What?
Here is the email to the staff from editor Sarah Glines. I've heard some troubling conversations recently, so I want to remind all employees that cursing is not appropriate in the work environment. It's not appropriate in the office, and it's not appropriate when you are representing us elsewhere. I know that newspapers have had a salty history and culture, hello, and I know that we all will slip from time to time. Still, I believe we can express ourselves adequately without the use of profanity. Let's clean up our language and make this a workplace that anyone can feel comfortable in.
Boy,
Thanks,
oh boy.
Sarah. Well, Matt, I just wanted to share with our viewers, there was a time when the York Daily Record was far more worried about journalism and aggressive journalism than what was going on with language in the newsroom. And by the way, the Daily Record has also banned Snickers bars and Mountain Dews. This might account for the cursing increase in the newsroom. Anyway, going back to the start of my career, I got called in by an editor one day who said, Ken, we have an assignment for you. Now, I was covering high school sports at the time. That's pretty much all I was doing. So I wanted to hear this different kind of assignment. Well, here was the assignment. Go to the local Chuck E. Cheese. Check out the high school kids that are in there on Friday nights and see what they're up to, because we at the Daily Record, Ken, are hearing that there's some drug dealing going on, some drugs. I looked at about 14 at the time. That's why I was qualified for this. I had just graduated
You were going
from
undercover.
college. So, yep, they sent me undercover, Harold, twice. 2 consecutive Friday nights, rolled up the expense account on video games and pinball, and looked all over for drugs, for illicit going-ons. Okay. So I report back after 2 Friday nights of this, which was great for me. I got
This is at the
account.
Chuck E. Cheese.
It's at the Chuck E. Cheese, that's right. That was the center of this. Absolute high stakes. All right, so Chuck E. Cheese, there's nothing going down. I report back to the editor, and I say, listen, there's nothing going on. He says, okay, here's what I want you to do. Make a buy. He wanted me to buy drugs.
It makes the writers look bad. I think it does.
Harold, truer words have never been spoken. So, my dad was out of town at the time. He was out of the country, actually. He's a lawyer. I called his best friend, kind of a tough guy from Queens, and I told him of this. And granted, I should have said no right away because buying drugs is illegal. But I was a young guy, and I wanted to do what the editor asked. So I called my dad's friend, and he said, Ken, if you do this, you're even dumber than your father and I thought. With that, I report back to the editor, tell him I'm uncomfortable doing this. He said, Ken, no problem, kid. That's okay. We appreciate you checking in on this. And that is why I am sitting here today instead of the York County Jail.
Wow.
Wow.
Jeez, Kenny, that is some story.
That'll be in my book.
I heard cursing is not banned in the jail, though.
Cursing was not banned in the York Daily Record newsroom at that time either, and we had quite a fun time with profanity.
Yeah, Kenny, really lifting the curtain here on his background is an almost narc.
Going to Chuck E.
Chuck E. Cheese.
So we went from the York
rough
Daily.
ground.
And by the way, I just want to say to all the parents in York who might be worried 30 years later about the Chuck E. Cheese, if it still exists, there was nothing going on.
Yeah.
It was clean.
Clean.
Clean as a whistle.
Rosenthal did all his checking. So we go from news of the York Daily Record banning curse words and Snickers to some of the details from Ken's early days as a newspaper man.